In this new episode, Sheila, a family member and project manager, discusses the novel The Woman Next Door by South African-based author Yewande Omotoso. The novel features Caribbean Hortensia James and white South African Marion Augustino, two elderly women and neighbors hating on each other. As the story moves on, we learn more about their lives and the reasons that push them to be so spiteful. Since the novel is mostly set in the neighborhood, I've invited Sheila to my family's house in Mataheko, Ohene-Nyako. This novel was an opportunity to explore coping strategies by women, how to deal with careers and family, and matters of caring for our mothers or elderly family members. So Sheila, what do you think of this idea of having two elderly women as main characters of a whole novel?
Well, I thought it was interesting because we usually find, authors writing about younger people, and throughout the book, we see the author going back, to define, what made them who they were, their young days. We have the history, where they grew up, where they were born, where their parents are from, and that, sort of like defined who they were throughout their lives, and then when they became older women, the sort of people that they were had to do with their past. So yeah, I thought it was interesting. Yeah.
So quite central to the novel is the topic of hate and anger, especially throughout the character Hortensia. And so do you think that the reasons of her being so spiteful are valid? Like, is hate a good means to cope with betrayal in her case, and lack of, she can bear children, so maybe a lack of self-esteem given the expectations of society put on women?
I don't think that hate was the right means of channeling her anger. Right, because the reason why did she start hating? The reason why she started hating is because her husband that she was in love with had started, she found out that he was having an extramarital affair, right? And so because of that, she felt betrayed, right? But I think due to, hating because of betrayal, she changed who she was, right? She started just being mean to everybody. She didn't have to be mean to people she met, but just because she had so much hate in her, she couldn't really have friends. She didn't have friends. Sometimes she'd go for walks and people would greet her and she wouldn't even she just looks past them. Oh, because these people haven't done anything to you, right? I thought that, hate wasn't the right thing. I think somewhere in the book she wanted to confront her husband, but I think she even called him home to come home. She wanted him to come home early to have dinner and wanted to talk about it, but couldn't find the words, right? So maybe she should have, found a way of talking to him about it. Maybe she should have let it out and found other ways, or maybe she could have buried herself in her work, right, instead of having to hate people, and finding a way to love, I guess. In terms of not having children, I believe that somewhere in the book we find out that she was pregnant when they first got married, and then she had an abortion, and I don't know if it was a quack abortion, but that is what resulted in her having several miscarriages after. It was a big secret that she kept, eventually revealed to Marion, her sworn enemy, but hate wasn't the right way to deal with her issues. I don't think hate was the right way. Yeah.
She and Marion are so they're definitely enemies.
Yeah.
But there's this idea, they're very jealous of each other, especially when it comes to their jobs. So Marion is an architect and Hortensia is an interior designer, right? So those are also jobs that you could rarely find women in it, right? So what are your thoughts on this issue of competitiveness and jealousy between women in the job market, let's put it that way?
Okay.
What could draw women to have that sense of competitiveness? Not to say that it's not happening between men, but how do you think gender could also play a role?
I think most women always feel like they have something to prove, right? Because we've been sort of like, kept under the table, for want of a better word, and usually when we find ourselves in the workplace, it's like, it's like a cat and mouse, games that we play. So everybody wants to be seen as the best, I guess. With Marion and Hortz, as her husband called her, they had similar jobs, but it wasn't really similar, right? It was interior design, architecture, both doing different things. For them, I feel like it had something to do with the hate that they had for each other, right? So this person felt architecture was better, this person felt interior design was better, and so they never agreed. I mean, when they went for dinner parties, I think there was somewhere in the book where there was a magazine that had listed architects, and Marion's name wasn't there, and Hortz was making fun of her because it made her happy that her name wasn't there, and all of that. But their competitiveness came from the hate for each other. It wasn't because I don't see it as being in the same architecture and interior design or whatever she was doing, design and textiles. I don't see it as being in the same field. But I think women, it's because we've always been second fiddle. And every time, you rise to the top, you still have men trying to put you down. So there's always that cat and mouse game of, people trying to be the best. You are the best, but you still have to prove that you're the best.
Both women are also successful. Both have at least university degrees. They have their own companies in their own field. And yet they have to kind of give up on their jobs, or at least reduce their activity because she's following her husband, and because she has to follow him, she can't be where her company is. And Marion, because she has 4 children, so she kind of kept up with the rhythm for the 2 first children, and then she had difficulties with the pregnancy, and then she started figuring out that motherhood wasn't really cool.
Yeah.
So do you think that women focus on their careers and having to give it up because of marriage or family duties, or what is considered as family duties, is still something that is contemporary? Or since this book also is set, since we are talking about elderly women who are in their 80s, in the year 2000s, is it something that you think is more remote in time?
I think it's still happening. Okay, you still have women having to give up, certain parts of, maybe having to reduce hours because of kids and all of that. But those are choices that we make, right? You make a choice to get married, you make a choice to have kids, right? And when you make those choices, you have to know that there are certain sacrifices that come with it. So, you've gone and had your university degree, gone on to do your master's, PhD, whatever, however high you want to climb, education-wise, and you choose to marry and you choose to have kids. Some people would want to be there, when their kids come from school and, be part of their kids growing up. Some people choose to get nannies, to take care of their kids, or have extended family, or have the husband who is maybe around, if your husband is, understanding. But I think generally we still have women who have to give up because they want to be a part of their kids' life. Apart from Marion, I didn't see Peter, Hortensia's husband, trying to reduce her hours or interfering negatively in her work, except for when he got sick, right, and she had to, be a part of his care.
The novel is also a story about women aging. Getting old, and then the issue of caring for people. And though one is the mother of 4 children, she's not getting any attention or any sort of caring from her children. Marion is a white South African, like her parents were immigrants,
yes,
but then she was born, grew up in South Africa under apartheid.
Yeah.
Do you think that the reasons of her children not wanting to care for her when she's old are valid? And those reasons are, we could guess, her racism.
Definitely not. Definitely not. No, because Marion, grew up in a home. Her parents were racist as well, right? She learned who she is as a result of how she was raised, right? We can't really blame her too much, for who she is. She grew up in an era where black people were suppressed in their own country. And she was that way because her parents passed it onto her. Okay, we didn't read anywhere in the book where she had black friends, or she wasn't given the opportunity to make black friends, or hear the black story, right? So that was all she knew. It's bad enough that you have a parent who's racist, but it doesn't, I don't think it gives you the right to say that because a parent is racist, that in their old age you would abandon them. I don't think it's fair, because when they were kids, she took care of them. She wasn't the best of moms, she wasn't the greatest of moms, but she did all that she could to take care of them, right? So I don't think that maybe because your parent is mean, or because your parent is racist, or because your parent is whatever it is that you don't like, I don't think that gives you the right to say that you would abandon them and you wouldn't take care of them, and you wouldn't, call to check up, because we're kids. I think it was only one child that she used to communicate with, and even that, it was always rush to get off the phone. I don't think it was fair that they treated their mom that way, because who they are, their mom, because their dad wasn't home. Right, their dad wasn't home. Agnes, yes, granted, Agnes raised them, but their mom was part of their upbringing. I wouldn't understand, I wouldn't understand. But I mean, for instance, in Ghana, we don't have care homes, right? So you find that abroad, when people are a certain age, the kids will check them into an old people's home, where they stay for the rest of their lives. It doesn't work like that. You'd find an elderly parent will move in with one of the kids, right? If that's not possible, they have a place. Maybe the parents, you grew up in your childhood home, maybe your parent still lives there. You find a nurse or somebody's come and take care of your parent. If that's not working out, you'd have to move your parent into your home until, they're called. My grandfather lived with my mom, until he passed. My grandmother lives with my auntie now. We can't even imagine saying that we're going to go leave them in an old people's home. It's not something that we do, So I can't imagine saying that, my mom was mean to me, or my dad was this to me. So at the end of his or her life, I would go and, I would abandon them. I can't imagine it. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.